Please click on the subscribe button so you get notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the end of the NFL regular season, and you know what that means. It is time for this week's 5 Flamin' Hot Picks. Now, first, let's recap on how we did week 17. So during week 17, ladies and gentlemen, we went 2-3. We had the Colts minus 7.5 over the Giants. They were, even if they didn't cover, they were still supposed to win the game. You don't get blown out by a team that's trying to get the number 1 overall pick, trying to get Shedeur Sanders coming in. Like, what was that? That defensive performance was atrocious, even though their offense was managed to put up points. Panthers plus 8 against the Buccaneers. I am a Bryce Young believer. I think he's done enough to earn himself an opportunity to start again next year. I was disappointed with the showing that the Panthers had. They got blown out, but the Buccaneers right now, they're riding high. They're trying to get in some postseason hot. And Baker's bacon, ladies and gentlemen. We had the Bills minus 9.5 over the Jets. Easy money. Josh Allen, MVP form. I think he's sealed up the MVP in my personal opinion. Aaron Rodgers, the Jets, they're packing it in for the season. I saw that game being a blowout, and I was right ultimately. Then the Cowboys plus 7.5 against the Eagles. I thought the Cowboys the week before, because the vibes were high. It looked like everything was riding right for the Cowboys. I genuinely thought they were going to be able to cover against the Eagles. They got blown out. Saquon ran through that ass. Like, I swear to God, that was horrible. That was a horrible display by the Dallas Cowboys, in my personal opinion. And then the last game we had was the Commanders minus 3.5 over the Falcons. Thank you for the OT touchdown, Jaden Daniels. You guys came in clutch, making me 2-3. Didn't have a 1-4 week like the week before. 2-3. We're getting our wins back, and this week we're going to go undefeated. Now, let's get into this week's picks, ladies and gentlemen. So first, I am taking the Chiefs plus 7.5 against the Denver Broncos. The reason behind this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Chiefs are the reigning Super Bowl champions. I understand Patrick is not going to be playing in this game, but Carson Wentz, in my personal opinion, is the best backup in the league. Not too long ago, he got paid over $100 million by the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was in the MVP conversation the year that they won the Super Bowl. Now, I understand he hasn't had any live reps this year, but I still think Andy Reid with Carson Wentz is going to make it a close ball game. I don't think 10.5 points is a good line for the Denver Broncos, who have a rookie head coach, even though they have Sean Payton, the Chiefs still got Spagnuolo. Like, the Chiefs defense is going to show up and tone it up for the playoffs in this game. That's how I feel like this game is going to go. So I think the Broncos are ultimately going to win, but I think the Chiefs make it a much closer ball game than the 10.5 points. That is the point spread for this week. Pick number 2, ladies and gentlemen. I am taking the Commanders minus 6.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys just got blown out, and if the Commanders learned anything from the last time they faced the Cowboys, is that they need to let Jaden Daniels run. They need to just focus on feeding the ball to their running backs in Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson, get the ball to Terry McLaurin. They need to just focus on the run game, and then everything is going to fall into place, especially because the Cowboys are not a physical team. We see what the Cowboys are when you establish the run and you're just dominant inside, and that's what I think the Commanders are going to do. The Commanders right now are playing for their seeding. They lose this game, they got to face the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. They win this game, I think they got to face the Rams. Either or, I think that both games, I think the Commanders are going to lose their first playoff game, to be completely honest with you. I'd be surprised if they win. But to make it into the playoffs, I think they would prefer not to face the Eagles again. And I think they would prefer to face somebody else. I think the game is going to be 6.5 points seems right. I think the Commanders are going to ultimately blow the Cowboys out. I think Dan Quinn is going to be able to tone up that defensive performance, especially after the first matchup that they had with their tape on it. It's going to be a better game for the Washington Commanders, especially because I feel like the Cowboys are ready for Cancun, ladies and gentlemen. Pick number 3. I am taking the Bears plus 10 against the Green Bay Packers. Now, when they had Matt Eberflus, the Packers still ended up winning by a point. I know they don't have Matt Eberflus, but Caleb Williams is trying to end the season on a positive note. Division games are usually close ball games. 10 points, in my personal opinion, is too much. And even though the Packers are probably going to play their starters, trying to win that game to ultimately get a better positioning, better seeding, I think because the Commanders game is going to be heavily in I think the Commanders are going to blow out the Cowboys, or at least make it a very dominant performance, where the Packers are going to start resting their starters by the third or fourth quarter, and the Bears are going to make it a closer ball game towards the end. I think the Packers are ultimately going to win, but the Bears keep it within a touchdown, maybe 3-4 points of the Packers to ultimately cover the point spread. Pick number 4, I am taking the Jets plus 1 over the Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are not good when Tua doesn't play. They announced that Tua's done for the season. Essentially, if they win, I think their playoff hopes are still alive. I know the Cincinnati Bengals just won today, so I don't know. I haven't checked really how the standings work. Maybe their season's completely over. But the Dolphins are not playing Tua Tagovailoa, and Aaron Rodgers, it might be his last game. I feel like the guys for the New York Jets are going to rally behind Rodgers, and they're going to ultimately come together to pull off a victory against the Tua-less Miami Dolphins, who do not have a strong offense when he's not out there. And the Jets defense might actually show up in this game. That is my prediction for the 4th pick of this week's 5 Flaming Hot Picks. And last but not least, the game that everybody's going to probably be watching, ladies and gentlemen. Vikings plus 2.5 over the Detroit Lions. Why do I think the Vikings are going to be able to beat Detroit? Let me tell you. The Vikings, even though they lost the first matchup against the Detroit Lions, they played phenomenal football this entire year. Let's give Sam Darnold his due. The talent that they have on that side of the ball, Justin Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, in my opinion, is still a top 10, top 5 running back in the NFL. And the way that Sam Darnold played this year, incredible. Kevin O'Connell, KOC, great head coach. What he's been able to do, and not to mention their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, ladies and gentlemen. The Vikings give me 49ers essence. When we had Kyle, when we had Robert Saleh, well, even though we had Jimmy G is like Sam Darnold in my personal opinion. That's what the vibe I get from the Vikings this season. Now, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, their defense has been atrocious. Let's be honest. I trust Brian Flores and what he's going to be able to do with the Vikings defense more than I trust Detroit and what they're going to be able to do with their offense. I know they can put up points easily, but against Brian Flores, who has tape, who's seen you already this year, I gotta give it to the Vikings, who are healthy, who have a solid defense, whose offense is full throttle, and Detroit, they're just dealing with too many injuries. I just see this game going for the Vikings, and the Vikings, after Detroit dominating this entire season as a number 1 seed, coming up from behind and taking it from them and ultimately winning this ball game. Take the Vikings plus 2.5 over Detroit. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My 5 flaming hot picks for NFL Week 18. Thank you for being a part of my 5 flaming hot picks for the entire NFL season. We're about to give you the playoff picks as well, so stay tuned for those next week when we come back for another round of the 5 flaming hot picks. But we'll be modifying it, so it won't be 5. It'll be the hot playoff picks. We'll come up with something catchy. And before we go, I'm gonna give you a brief recap on my 5 flaming hot picks for this week. We have the Chiefs plus 10.5 against the Broncos. We have the Commanders minus 6.5 over the Cowboys. We got the Bears plus 10 against the Packers. We have the Jets plus 1 over the Dolphins. And then we have the Vikings plus 2.5 over the Detroit Lions. Keywords here are over and against. If it's against, they're covering. If it's over, then they're winning. Keep that in mind when you make your picks, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, please subscribe, like, and comment on the video. Share this with your friends, families, and partners. Make some money with my picks. Listen to my sports takes, or just watch for some positivity. Always remember, desire is power, and if you desire to be great, you have the power to be great. Thank you for watching another 5 Flaming Hot Picks. You've been a part of it this entire season. If you have, I hope you've made money. I appreciate you guys. Join the Discord server so you get notified when my latest content drops. Love you all. Stay tuned for more. Guys, have you heard? Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.